Hey, today I'm talking about 3 Errol Flynn, Olivia de Havilland films set during the 1800s. And the names of those 3 films are They Died with Their Boots On, The Charge of the Light Brigade, and Santa Fe Trail. First up is They Died with Their Boots On. This is a 1941 film about the life and times of one George Armstrong Custer, from his arrival at West Point in 1857 to his death later. He's a Civil War hero. And it was great. I really enjoyed this film. It's definitely a comedy. I guess you could probably call it more of a dramedy because it does get dramatic, like the end is very dramatic, and a little bit of a downer because, you know, racism and stuff. But I really enjoyed it. It really clicked with me from the get-go. I wasn't anticipating that at all. I wasn't expecting like the humor to really strike a chord with me, but from the get-go, I was just like, oh, that was weird. Actually, no, that was hilarious. I love that. And then there was another joke and another joke and another joke, and it just kind of like, it was just clicking for me. I think part of that too is just because like Errol really like played it pretty dang straight. I feel like Errol wasn't like hamming it up or anything. Like there were jokes at his expense and stuff, but he wasn't just like, you know, doing pratfalls or something. They were kind of more just like naturally occurring jokes. I've seen almost all of Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland's movies, and I feel like they had the strongest chemistry in this one. I know Olivia was definitely sick of Errol at this point and wanted to not be partnered up with him anymore. And I understand that for sure. I really like Olivia's character in general too. I wish there was a little bit more with her, but unless the movie's about a woman, women always get pushed to the side. The action was great. The adventure was fun. I liked where the story went. I'm not super familiar with Custer's actual life and times. There have been lots of creative licenses with this movie, but like I didn't mind because again, I don't know his story, and I feel like they told a really interesting, fun, and unique story because it's just like this guy who just really wants to fight, and he's good at it too. Yeah, he's also kind of reckless, but like he does get the job done. Like he was definitely a decorated war hero, and he did his best to earn that distinction. So yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie and would wholeheartedly recommend it. Even if you're not a Custard fan, I would definitely, without a doubt, recommend this film. Next up is The Charge of the Light Brigade. This is a 1936 film, and the basic premise is these 2 brothers are both in love with the same woman, and she's in love with the one that she's not engaged to. And so I liked that concept, but like the movie focused way too hard on it. Like a major portion of this movie is just about this silly little love triangle, which has nothing to do with the title of the film. And like the war stuff that's in this, sort of almost like a cat and mouse kind of hunting down thing of like, there's this Indian man who they used to be allies with, and then the US kind of betrayed them, and then he betrayed them back, and then war crimes may have happened. And like all of that stuff was really good. Like there was some really intense scenes. There's one where it's basically like the Alamo, and there's like a really intense escape scene. I don't know, man, there's just so many like great fighting moments that I really truly enjoyed. But I was just so bored by the love triangle aspect. It is interesting in and of itself, but like when it's a movie about war, it should be mostly about the war stuff and not about the love aspect. For like a hot second, I thought maybe it was supposed to be a metaphor for the UK's relationship with India. If it is, I think it fell apart or it just kind of got lost in the complexities of love triangle shenanigans. Also, the title of the movie is literally the very last thing that happens in the movie, and like that scene was pretty dang great. Though, according to IMDb trivia, which I definitely believe, they killed / maimed a lot of horses to film it. Like they used tripwires to knock the horses down, and like you can tell those are some brutal falls. It is not at all surprising that horses died to make this film. I don't think that it was worth it. They didn't need to do that, but you can definitely see the visceralness of it. So yeah, no, I like this film. I thought it was interesting. Would I recommend it? I'd say cautiously. Like it is interesting and there are really great standout moments, but the love triangle stuff does really bog stuff down, even though the love triangle stuff is interesting in and of itself. It just didn't belong in this movie, at least to the degree that it was. So yeah, I liked it, maybe recommend it. And lastly is Santa Fe Trail. This is a 1940 historical movie that takes a lot of historical liberties and is morally really, really weird. So it takes place in the lead up to the Civil War. And the premise is it follows a bunch of people who would later go on to be military standouts during the Civil War as they hunt down John Brown, who, if you're unfamiliar, according to Wikipedia, was an American who was a prominent leader in the American abolitionist movement in the decades preceding the Civil War. AKA, he hated slavery and was trying real damn hard to get rid of it. A more modern counterpart to him would be like Malcolm X, except he's white. Just because like John Brown definitely was more of a radical. He believed that bloodshed was necessary to free all of the enslaved people, and like he was just very angry and planned to like have all of these giant rebellions and kill a lot of like slave owners and stuff. He was very okay with murder because in his eyes it was justified because they have been torturing these people for literally hundreds of years. And he's the bad guy of the movie. But the hero's counter argument is kind of more so like looking at Martin Luther King Jr. to Malcolm X. They're like, hey, you can hate this stuff and protest it like Martin Luther King Jr. did peacefully, but don't go all extreme on us like Malcolm X. That's taking things too far. Obviously they didn't use those words, but that's, you know, the comparison. And like, to an extent, I understand that argument, but also no. Like, one of the reasons that Errol Flynn's character states as like, hey, cool down, is that like, Virginia has been talking about abolishing slavery, and once they abolish slavery in God knows how many years, then all the other southern states will definitely follow. And it's like, you sure? Are you sure about that? That kind of sounds like a whole lot of bullshit. So like the morality of the movie is definitely strange. Like there was even parts where like some black people are like, they weren't really seeking freedom. They were sort of like tricked into trying to get freedom, and really they just want to go back home to their enslaved life. And it's like, well, that's really messed up. And like they really just paint John Brown as this like wide-eyed, crazy cartoon villain. And it's like, okay, we can have a nuanced conversation about this. That'd be really great. You can make counter arguments to this, but you gotta treat both sides equally. Come on. I hate to say it, but I did like this movie. It feels dirty to say that because of how messed up the politics are in this movie, because, you know, slavery, obviously. But if you can kind of put that aside, which is a big thing to like try to push aside, the action was really great. I enjoyed all of those scenes. Olivia really came alive. I feel like this is one of the most vibrant portrayals I've seen her do. And she was so charming and delightful. Also, a sentence I never thought I would say was, I really liked Ronald Reagan. He's in this as just one of the other soldiers, and he's really charming and delightful. I've never seen him this young before, so that was weird. But he was good. He was solid. He nailed the role. And like, it was definitely entertaining, and it definitely kept my attention. But like, God damn, are the morals up in this movie. It feels wrong to say that I liked it, but I did, technically. Would I recommend it? Not really. Like, it's an experience. If you want to just like see the strange morality of this movie, then sure, yeah, go for it. But like, this really isn't a movie to just like gently walk into. Like, you gotta be a little bit more prepared for the bonkersness of this movie. So yeah, it was an interesting experience that I technically liked, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got They Died With Their Boots On, so number 44 in the really like section. And then after that, a bit of a ways down, is The Charge of the Light Brigade, sitting number 153 in the liked section. And then bringing up the rear, rightfully so, is Santa Fe Trail, sitting number 172, also in the like section. Why does it pain me every single time I say that? I did technically like it, right? And this is a total of 222 old movies so far this year.